It's recording. All right, I can't believe that we're on the last day of this retreat. It's been so good. I've been getting really awesome feedback from everybody. And I hope that you'll feel comfortable enough to share those with me, even in the chat, or if you want to email me, text me, anything is great. I'm also going to be having a Google Forms for you to fill out. It'll be sent in an email after today. Just getting all your feedback, advice, things you loved, things you wish you saw. So thank you for filling those out for us. We really appreciate that. I'm going to get into our topics for today, and then at the wrap up of the course, there's just some more like housekeeping details and making sure that you're accessing everything that you purchase or want. So I am going to hop into breastfeeding basics. And inside of our course, we have a lot more with pictures and a video from Mihoko, who is our certified, internationally certified board, if I could talk, an IBCLC. So she's a lactation consultant that works out of Honolulu. And she is the one who wrote all of our information in our course. So she is a wealth of knowledge. Today, I'm going to be going over mostly things to expect for each of the stages of breastfeeding. I think that's important for mothers to know because sometimes we can be blindsided if we aren't sure if this is common, and then knowing when to reach out to an IBCLC. So during pregnancy, a lot of times we will notice changes in our breast tissue already. Sometimes they increase, and that's just to accommodate the milk production that's going to be occurring. So that's totally normal. It doesn't always happen, but it is common. And then in that timeline, when breasts transition from making colostrum to making milk, which again, that timeline varies for each mother. A lot of times mothers will experience engorgement. So that's that full feeling that you're going to be feeling when breasts are tender to the touch. And a lot of times that fullness or engorgement will continue until your body understands the amount of milk you need. So a lot of moms that I work with get worried because they may not feel this when they think they should be feeling that full feeling. Their baby's still only getting colostrum. But I just encourage you to trust your body in that time. Sometimes babies need more colostrum. It's so hydrating and nourishing and full of a lot of vitamins for baby. So even though they may not be getting that, fatty milk just yet, your body knows exactly what to do. But once you do transition into making milk, a lot of times your body isn't understanding quite yet the supply that your baby needs. Our bodies just know to make milk. So a lot of times we're making enough milk for, 2 to 3 babies at a time because our body doesn't know the supply that's needed just yet. And then sometimes women do experience a lower end of supply. And again, it's just our body's not sure yet what baby is needing. And that's really an important reason why going through our course and looking at all of the details and all of the steps for proper latching, and latching so key because it's either going to help you to stimulate your breast so that you are making enough breast milk. And it's also ensuring that baby's latch is deep enough that it's pulling your fore and hind milk. So that way it's reducing the likelihood of remaining engorged and getting infection or clogged milk ducts. So going through the latching portion is important for either of those experiences that you may experience. Around 6 to 8 weeks is usually when you've been breastfeeding for a while. You're starting to kind of get a groove. And a lot of my mamas will panic because they don't feel that full feeling in their breast anymore. And they're worried that maybe their supply is going down. And that can be confusing because usually around 6 to 8 weeks with infants is when they experience a huge growth spurt. So that's where it's kind of tricky because okay, my breasts don't feel as full. My baby's more fussy than usual. Are they getting enough? And definitely make sure that you are monitoring, the amount that they are getting. And if that is a real concern for you, then reaching out to an IBCLC is important. But also know that it's very common for that full feeling to go down. It's just because your hormones are starting to shift and all that extra blood and fluid that were once going to your breast is now regulating. So a lot of times your milk production has not gone down at all. It's just all the blood and fluid is starting to flush out and regulate. And then of course, baby's going to want to nurse a lot because they're growing in that time. Between 11 to 14 weeks is usually when your body will start to finally regulate milk production. So that seems like an eternity of experiencing a lot of engorgement or trying to keep supply up. And then mamas will often experience the leaking of milk. So in this time period, once you make it to 11 to 14 weeks, that's when your body's going to start regulating out, that you're not going to have to pump to either encourage production or to purge out some of the excess milk that you have and store it. And this is also when the leaking will also decrease. So breastfeeding is always a labor of love, and having somebody in your area that you trust as an IBCLC is key. A lot of times when you give birth in the hospital, you're going to have access to an IBCLC. If you're a home birthing mama, there's always IBCLCs that serve the home birthing community, and finding that person in your community is huge. I always encourage you to do that before you give birth. But even if you are newly postpartum, finding those people are key. And so that is kind of the segue into this next portion of preparing your home, your support community, and supporting your partner, and having them be prepared for postpartum. So as you go throughout the course, there is action steps for each part of the course, and it's kind of slowly preparing you and your support community for this big event that's getting ready to happen in your life. But one of the things that is essential, and I always suggest starting with first before, purchasing all the things for your bathroom or all the teas, make sure that you have a list of professionals that you have their numbers to, that you've already made contact with so they know who you are. So that way, if you experience anything postpartum where a professional is needed, you can reach out to them and you already know that you're going to be in great hands. One of it, which, like I said, is an IBCLC. That's really huge. Having a pelvic floor therapist that either can work virtually like Hillary or somebody that you can actually go to receive pelvic floor therapy is non-negotiable. Those two are like the non-negotiables. You need to have them in your contact list. And then, of course, we recommend highly having a chiropractor. There's a whole module in our course that's about chiropractic care for pregnant women, for infants, and for postpartum women. And I don't know how many of you have experienced chiropractic care, but that is so key, especially for baby. 99% of babies have subluxations in their spine, and that's just when they're misaligned, which makes sense. Whether you birth vaginally or via cesarean, babies are tugged and moved. They're put in a lot of wild positions. So making sure that they can get adjusted, which adjusting for infants is not like what we're thinking it would be, like rough. A lot of times it's just pressure points that's helping them release their muscles, which helps with their digestion. It can help with colic. It can help with restlessness and fussiness, as well as breastfeeding. It's very common for babies to have really tight, tense necks. So when they're having to turn to breastfeed or line up to breastfeed or even suck, all those muscles in their neck might be tight, so they may not be able to suck properly. So having a chiropractor for your baby, of course, but also for you as you're healing is huge. So that's like a trifecta. And then your practitioner, your doctor of choice, whether it's a naturopath or just a regular Western doctor, make sure that you have their information. So if you need to contact them for any reason, you have their number and it's not a stressful thing. And it's good for your partner to have this list of people too, because they're going to be the one who's advocating for you. I also highly recommend having a maternal mental health therapist on your list. We have access to Shannon Kaufman here, and now that all of you have signed up for this course, you also have access to her. So if you need her information, please let me know. She's the one who wrote all of the maternal mental health portion of our course. And she's really passionate about connecting women, no matter where you're at on the globe, to a wonderful professional in your area. And then she also does some coaching. So because of legalities and what is in her scope of practice, she will not be able to do therapy online via telehealth, but she can get you into the hands of somebody in your area who can do that for you. And like I mentioned, when we talked about maternal mental health, every mama needs that. Whether you're feeling great postpartum and you're so supported, or if you're having some difficulties, we all need that time to just download everything. And it's really great for partners too, to have a therapist and to go through that talking process, because a lot of times for men, it's hard for them to process what went on, and they need that too. So those are really great professionals to have on hand. Other things to have set up in advance are things like a meal train. There's amazing apps now where you can start a meal train, or a friend can start a meal train for you. And it organizes everybody. You can put even like your food preferences, your sensitivities in there so everybody knows. And we suggested some really great ones in the course. We listed them out for you as options for apps to use, and then tasking either your partner or your best friend, or even your doula. A lot of times doulas are really great at stepping up to help you organize that and getting that out to your support community, because food, like we talked about, is so important. We did include some recipes if you wanted to make those beforehand as freezer meals. Highly recommended. Doing at least a week of freezer meals is huge. That way, once all the meal trains stop, don't use your freezer meals right away. Wait till the meal trains stop when your partner goes back to work, because you're still not going to want to cook yet, and you'll have access to those freezer meals. I do talk a little bit more in depth in the course as well about how to prepare your home. So I think about every room of your house and what you need to prepare for. So in your bedroom, obviously you're going to be in there a lot while you're newly postpartum. So having a whole basket by your bedside, or a table set up by your bedside that has everything you need, from snacks to water, books you want to read, adult coloring books. You're going to be there for a while. So having a phone charger, earbuds if you're going to be listening to music or podcasts, and then having extra things for baby there, diapers, swaddles. I always suggest having some breastfeeding pads there. You're going to be going through that, your nipple cream, all of the things you're going to be needing while you're sitting there. So we have also a detailed list of that as well. I think it's good to be able to see that in person. I can rattle them off to you, but seeing them in person so you can write them down and make sure you have all those things is really, really essential. And then having everything in your restroom that is going to be helpful while you're healing is key. It's Friday and we're happy that it's Friday. But things like pads, witch hazel pads, those are everything, as well as numbing sprays. They make a lot of really great sprays on Etsy too. And then I have some recipes as well for a sitz bath. And that sitz bath is also great for creating a spray as well. You just gotta try different ones. Next. We're doing our school. So we're gonna have to wait. Mama's almost done. The struggle. And then, so yes, in your bathroom, sorry, getting back on my train of thought. In your bathroom, it's really great to have things primarily for your vagina while you're healing. And those are essential. So the sitz bath is really, really, really great. You can also brew the sitz bath recipe that we have and put it in a peri bottle. That's really great just for after going to the restroom, keeping that area clean. And then it also is going to help with healing, reducing inflammation. That same recipe is so versatile because you can also brew it, dip some pads in it, wring it out just a little bit, and then place those pads in a bowl in your freezer. And you're going to want them in a bowl so they're not flat against you when you want to go to use them as an ice pack. If you're swollen or if you have torn a little bit, the bowl shape is going to help it fit on you. And those are life. So that recipe is really versatile, and I encourage you to make each of those: spray, peri bottle, or 4 of those, sitz bath, and then the ice pads. So we call them padsicles. So those are really essential as well. And then I also suggest having an area in your living room. So if you just need to get out of the bedroom, you're sick of staring at those 4 walls, that you'll have a place to go and plop down a comfy chair or a spot on your couch with a table next to it that has all the same things that you have in your bedroom. So that way, if you're going to hunker down there for a little while, that you'll still have everything you need. That is key. If you have a child that is a toddler or still pretty young and you're worried about connecting with them during this time, I also highly recommend having a basket in the room that's just for them and bonding time for them. So while you're breastfeeding or while baby's sleeping next to you, your older child can have that basket that is toys that they don't just have in their room normally, or snacks that they don't normally have, that they would really love, books that are new or new to them. They don't have to be brand new. And then even, little things that you guys can do together, having little coloring books in there that you can do together. I also recommend having a little massage oil in there for them. A lot of times when older siblings are seeing you give a lot of care and attention to an infant, they're just trying to figure out their place in the world and their place in your family. So I love having that because you can just take time for them to lay down, massage their legs and their arms, and it just makes them feel like you're really pouring into them. That was always my kids' favorite, and it's always my clients' kids' favorite too. So they can come in there whenever they feel like they need time with you or you want to dedicate time to them. They can pick something from the basket that's so special and just for that special time with you and them, and you can connect all together. So that is really, really important, and a beautiful way to connect. I'm gonna also talk about connecting with your partner. In our course, we have a great section on returning to intimacy that was written by Hillary. And that is so important. A lot of times it's a whole new terrain to navigate. So having that guidance from a professional is lovely. So I'm just pulling up here some ways to prepare your partner. Not quite yet, Papa. Let's see. Give me just one moment. Guess my computer's going to be slow. So as we've gone through some of these exercises, the mental exercises that's helping you prepare and to understand your inner mother, that is step one for preparing your partner for postpartum, is sharing those with your partner. So a lot of times we have all of these expectations in our mind of our partner going into this season, but they don't know what those are unless we show them, unless we talk to them. And a lot of times having it in black and white is really, really good. I think they need that. And it can save you a lot of hassle when you're recovering postpartum of the fighting, or, you know, I expected this from you and I'm not getting this from you. I see it all the time. So each of those practices, like I said, like the 7 layers deep, the one thing, defining your success, all of those practices that you move through in our workbook, share those with your partner. It's going to be able to help him see where you're at, see what you're thinking motherhood is going to be like, and you're going to invite him into that space. And then I encourage you to have your partner do that for fatherhood, for what he thinks he's going to be experiencing, things he doesn't want to do and where he'd rather spend his attention. Inviting him into this process is so huge for you both being able to connect with one another. We have a module in the course that you can go through with your partner. And it's kind of from both perspectives, like how to support a postpartum woman, things to consider, ways to serve her. And then it's also on the flip side, how can we see what they're going through? How can we communicate more effectively and efficiently to them for what we're needing and what we're wanting? And then ways to affirm them, encourage them to keep serving you during this time. So having those things for your partner is really important. And I think it's a really great, honestly, a great like pre-baby date night to go through those, do them separately, and then come together and talk about them. And that really gives you time to both be very honest with what you're going through and the process that you're going to unpack with doing those exercises. And then when you come together, it's going to be really enlightening. So that's why I love those practices so much, because we can return to them as mothers over and over. He can return to them as a father over and over. And then as a couple, you can do it as well. So communication is everything. And that's usually when I see couples really struggling postpartum, it's because there's all these expectations flying in the air and no one's really verbalizing them. And that's when things get really, really hairy. So that is essential. Today is pretty quick. I wanted to at least touch on those 3 things. Like I said, in the course that you have access to, it's going to go deep dive into all of those. But today, as I'm wrapping up this course, I want to make sure that everybody goes and schedules their appointments, because you get a free coaching session with Hillary, and you also get a free coaching session with me. So I'm going to be sending an email out right after this that will give you links for our calendars so you can book those. I highly encourage you to do that. So that way you just have another layer of support. We can see where you're at specifically and ways that we can support you. And then also just connect with you for how you did this week and where you're at in the online course. I know that course takes longer to get through than just a week. So yes. Thank you everyone for coming, for sticking through all of the technical difficulties and toddler tantrums. I'm so glad that you're here. Please share your experience on our Facebook group. If you haven't already connected in the Facebook group, I'd love to see where you're at. So again, thank you for this week, and I'll be in contact with all of you soon, hopefully. Bye.